Great. So we previously discussed self-appreciation. Now I'd like to talk about effective and damaging routine habits. I really like the metaphor of train tracks, and I have to say that I received that metaphor from Dutch psychologist Dr. Gertjan van Zessen. He created a whole theory also on appreciation when he coaches people. And what is the metaphor of the train tracks? Well, the idea is that a lot of our behavior is routine. For example, you wake up in the morning and you decide to take a shower. Yeah, then you decide to brush your teeth or not, and then maybe you drink coffee. But if you look at yourself, if you look at your own daily behavior, most of the time we will do the same thing day after day. Yeah? We step in our car, we drive it a specific way. We're not relearning that behavior every day. Luckily not, else we wouldn't be able to achieve much. But so we have routine behaviors, but the thing is, some of our routines are very effective. Very effective. They just work. Other routines are either ineffective, where we can learn to improve them, and in certain situations they are even damaging. Now let's go back to the car example I gave in the first clip. When a car tailgates you, and those things happen, you don't plan them, there's always somebody on the road who kind of wants to display that behavior, it is normal that your first reaction will be one of fear and aggression. That's just our biology working and helping us survive. Now, as you notice this anger and you go on the side, you may have a thought in your head to strike back at that person. And I have to say, I've done that in the past. I have then gone behind that car and I've started flashing my lights and maybe yelling certain nasty words at that person in my car. But luckily for me, nothing happened. And luckily for me, at some point, the intelligent part of my brain, the neocortex, got activated and said, stupid, don't do this. This is dangerous. So then I decided, okay, let's go off the road. So going back to the metaphor, of the train tracks, it's possible that your tracks suddenly go in the wrong direction, like when I was doing stupid behavior. But luckily, at each new interval, you can decide to make a different choice and say, wait a minute, what is intelligent, safe behavior? Let me go on the side. Same thing with the coffee. And I'm using coffee, it could be anything else, but when you enjoy your food or when you enjoy a drink, at that moment in time, your brain is really taking a neurological break from your other activities. So when you sit down and take a few minutes, not many, but just a few minutes to enjoy your coffee, to smell it, to taste it, your brain is in another mode and it gives yourself a micro rest. When you then go back to your work, you will notice you are a little bit more refreshed. Whereas if you just order the coffee and swallow it down in one go to continue, you don't get that mental break. And again, you can notice, you can do it the rushed way, and then suddenly your brain says, wait a minute, I might as well enjoy this. Or if you're a student, you're eating pizza, rather than eating pizza and talking to somebody and watching a video, you could all just eat the pizza and say, wow, this is actually tasteful. You get some brain benefit by doing so. And the same thing with the Gatsby example. It is typical in our society when we notice somebody doing something great that we then ask ourselves, why aren't we doing this? Yeah? Here's a top salesperson, how come I can't sell as well? Here's somebody giving a fantastic presentation, why don't I have those skills? Now, This may be normal behavior because we have a tendency, it's maybe also in our political system, to complain and to focus on what doesn't work, but it doesn't really help your brain and yourself. So notice next time you're reading a great book or watching a great movie, notice and say, wow, I can notice this brilliance. And when you do so, you're actually appreciating and acknowledging that capacity. The next step could then be that you decide, for example, to copy some lines of the Great Gatsby book. And you may even decide after a few weeks to read those lines again and say, oh, how can I integrate that in my own writing? And what you're doing then is you're creating an interesting routine behavior to actually eventually write an interesting book, which is a lot more useful than just saying, oh, this is great, but I'm not that great myself. So psychologically, each behavior, each routine moment also has its turning point. A turning point upwards, that's the direction you want to go, or downwards, where things go wrong.